And tonight, a rabbi with Beth Israel expresses his condolences for all the victims in the horrific shooting, adding that sadly, anti-Semitism still exists in the U.S. Our Madeline Dart joins us with why he's also making it a point to reassure his congregation they are safe. Maddie.
Well, Michelle, Rabbi Ilan Emanuel says he's just absolutely devastated by this violent act. He adds, even in a day and age when people are generally much more accepting of other cultures, his congregation still has certain security measures in place.
It was still an active shooting at the time.
Rabbi Ilan Emanuel sharing the moment he found out about the shooting.
I was sickened by this. I was just this awful fear for the people in Pittsburgh and our fellow Jews.
He says it's an awful reminder that even in 2018, there is still anti-Semitism, which is one reason why they have a security guard to protect from a potential threat.
We definitely feel welcome and loved in the community, but we know that there's a lot of hate out there. Unfortunately, there's been a rise in anti-Semitism across the world and in America, and many congregations have security personnel.
During a sad time for the Jewish community, Rabbi Emanuel says it's a time to come together.
We hope that this horrific event is the last one of its kind.
He reads this verse in hopes that such tragedy will not happen again, regardless of the religion.
Everyone shall sit safely under his own vine and fig tree, and there shall be none to make him afraid. We will always be there for them.
Rabbi Emanuel says their thoughts and continued prayers will be with everyone who was affected by the shooting. Michelle.